What's up, wizards? It's from Mtg. We like it in Magic. And 2023 was a decent year for Magic, if you don't count all the Pinkertons and the firing people that shouldn't have been fired and all the other stuff. I'm sure there's like a million other things. Oh yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I almost forgot about that too, among still many more other things, I'm sure. But in terms of the actual product, Magic had a pretty good year this year, right? We had some banger sets like Wilds of Eldraine and LCI, probably some recency bias at play there, but still, I thought they were really good sets, and I still think they're really good sets. Even towards the beginning of the year, we had stuff like All Will Be One and March of the Machine, which showcased the culmination of some pretty serious plot lines in Magic the Gathering that have been going on for a while now, and multiple characters got to finish their stories, whether that meant doing awesome plotline stuff or just getting killed off, which happened to a lot of characters this year. There's also a commitment to remastered sets, which I tend to like the concept of, but don't mess around with too much, but not everything has to be for me. Maybe I'll expand upon that a little bit later in a different entry. We'll see if I get to it or remember. But there's also the success of universes beyond Lord of the Rings, which I think a lot of people count as a good thing, myself included. So there's a lot of good stuff about the number 23 starring Jim Carrey, but I think we can do way better in 2024, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about 5 things that I want for Magic the Gathering this year.
And I'm your favorite Magic Channel's favorite Magic Channel. Best believe that the professor go bananas for my deck tech.
And we're back. Like and or subscribe. And if you really want me to be able to continue doing this for a living, check out the Patreon, link in the description. New for 2024, by the way, is the Patron of the Day. I want to evolve the content and give you more for being a patron. So hey, Timothy Prey, thanks for being a patron. You've been one for a good long time. You've really helped support the channel, and I want to give you some recognition. For once in Tim's life, can he get some recognition? Jeez, Timothy Prey, thanks for being a patron. But aside from that, we got to go ahead and move into the video here because I got a few things that I want to happen in 2024. And I'd say that approximately 0, these things are likely to actually happen. But still, the only rule here is that I'm not going to get too fantastical. Like, as much as I'd like it, I can't say that I'd like for some powerful spiritual entity to enter the hearts of Wizards of the Coast executives and soften them, or maybe like 3 ghosts visit Chris Cox on the day before a quarterly financial report. Yeah, it'd be great if that happened, but it's probably not going to. So we're going to try and stay a little bit grounded with this one. Now I want to kick things off with like a short honorable mention here, and it's maybe we could chill out on the secret layers a little bit. Look, I know I'm trying to keep things within the realm of possibility here. I just said we're trying to be grounded in reality, and then I go and say something crazy like this. I know. First of all, I know it's more direct-to-consumer sales, and that's why they're like secret layers. No one's dumb around here. We know what's going on, but I've got something later for you if you want direct-to-consumer sales. Wizards of the Coast executives that are totally watching this right now, I'm sure. I've got something for you later in terms of direct-to-consumer sales. We can talk about it. Don't worry. I know you want your money. You'll get it. But when it comes to secret layers, I was doing a search on TCG Player the other day for just Magic the Gathering secret layer promos. There's like over 2,000 of these already, which is a ridiculous number. That's way, way, way too many in a very, very short amount of time. How'd that even happen? You know, so I'm not saying you can't do secret layers. I wouldn't say that. I've tried to say that before you did them, and then you did them anyway, because of course you're going to do them anyway. It's probably the thing that makes you not the most money, but an awful lot. It's so much money. Right, so you're not going to stop doing them, and I'm not telling you to, but maybe you just do a few a year instead of like all the time. You just release like a barrage of different secret layers all at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the strategy on that one, but either way, you can still release a few a year, but maybe they make sense. Maybe do that too. You know, maybe the cards that are contained within the secret layer all actually make sense and are cards that people play with. That would be a good thing to do if you're gonna do secret layers, is all I'm saying. Sometimes I see secret layers and I'm like, oh, that card's cool, that card's cool. What are you doing here? You know, I don't really get that practice either. So maybe, and this is going to be a running theme for the entire video, so it's good I can go ahead and mention it during the HM here. Maybe I just want Magic to feel special again. And I think when you release this many secret layers and like half the cards don't make any sense, and it's like, I don't know, and like even the theme doesn't make any sense. Like I like when you find an artist that doesn't do Magic stuff, or they don't even work in the fantasy medium half the time, and you do, hey, you draw some Magic cards, we'll give you some money. That's fine. But even then, half the cards in the collection don't make sense. Just a little bit more cohesion and a little bit more special is all I want. I don't want, oh, there's a batch of secret layers. There's a dump of secret layers coming out. Okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to buy them anyway, so you don't have to listen to me, Watsy, right? But I still sometimes will occasionally on the secondhand market order a card from a secret lair because I think it looks really cool. I've got my Eternal Witness. I've got my Bearscape, you know what I mean? So I still like the idea of secret lairs. I just think, like everything in Magic, maybe we should be trying to focus on making things a little bit more special. And sometimes that requires making things a little bit more scarce, or maybe not so often, right? So again, I know it's never ever going to happen, but these are the things I want, not the things I think are going to happen. That's the next video. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, because number 5 is controversial. Is that even is it true? Sometimes I think, like, can a guy talking about Magic the Gathering be controversial? And then I remember, absolutely. But I don't think this should necessarily be a controversial point one way or the other, but it's especially weird coming from a guy who makes the most YouTube money on spoiler videos. There are whole months where I don't make like any money on AdSense whatsoever. And then spoiler season rolls around and I do one video every single day that gets like twice as many views as the videos I normally do once every 3 days. And so I make good money during spoiler season. A little secret to being a YouTuber is you should really cover spoiler season, because it's the thing that's going to get you the most views, and it's really fun for that matter. I love spoiler season, so it's a weird thing for me to say, I think. But again, in the interest of making Magic a little bit more interesting and, dare I say, magical, again, I know it's cliche at this point, but I do think that for a lot of people, the magic is gone from Magic the Gathering. And I think that one of the ways of getting it back is, wait for it, it's a lot of preamble, fewer spoilers, okay? We can still do spoilers, all right? Like back in the day, it used to be that, and I'm an old man, and back in my day, there's a very slight difference between back in the day and back in my day, and I'm not even really sure there's an actual difference. But in any case, way back when, we didn't know what cards were in a set. Like, you go to pre-release, like maybe a magazine like Inquest or something had done a little spread and showed you like 10 or 12 cards that are going to be in this set, but you don't know like any of the commons or uncommons. You just know like half of the rares. You're excited about this one thing. You don't know what the set is. And that was really interesting, because over like 2 weeks or a month or 6 weeks or more, a summer sometimes, you and your play group or the people at your LGS or the people at your school sometimes, if it weren't summer, would all kind of discover what this set was, collectively. And it was a really interesting experience, and we just can't have that. I know it's impossible again to go back. I don't want to get too fantastical, because we have the internet nowadays, and distributors get cards early, and there's going to be leaks, and you just can't really hope for a world like this, right? But I think that one way that Wizards could facilitate putting a little bit of magic and mystery back into Magic the Gathering is not letting us know every single card that's going to be in the set before the set comes out. And again, I'm a guy that actually stands to lose from that. That's called principles. One thing I want to do is truly, to the depths of my soul, love everything about Magic the Gathering again. Do I still love Magic? Absolutely. But am I still in love with Magic? Yeah, probably. But is it the same as it used to be? Absolutely not. So, do I want to recapture some of that? Absolutely. And I think one way of doing that is by putting some guesswork back into the set. I actually think Murders at Carlisle Manor would be a great set to start this with. Like maybe let us know some of the spoilers, trickle some stuff out. But by no means should we know every single card in the set by the time the set comes out. Takes all of the magic out, takes all the mystery out, all the fun, the exploration, the discovery, all of those flowery words that actually do mean something to a lot of people, again, myself included. So again, one more just recap here. I know that I will lose money, and I am not in a position to be able to do that at this point in my life, but I still think that one thing that they could do if they wanted to maybe generate more buzz, like in a weird, ironic way, is to make sure that we don't know every single thing there is to know about a set a week before we even get to touch the cards. Now, number 4 is one that I have been thinking about. Of all the points on this list, this is the one that I have dwelled on in my mind the most, but I'm going to try not to like belabor it too much, but who are you watching, right? So let me just say, the return of core sets. I know they've already discussed what products they're releasing, and I probably should have said this earlier, but we've already got like a pretty good release schedule all the way up until like 2026 or something. We know what's coming out for a good long time here, not to say they won't announce other things, which is my point. They could announce other things whenever they wanted to, even if they're not necessarily on the release schedule right now, or maybe they won't be on the release schedule till after 2026. Either way, they could go back to core sets, and I would be really happy with that. And you know why? Let me try to explain this. Because like I said, it's all I've been thinking about for like 3 days. And the more I think about a thing, the harder it is to explain. That's a thing I do. But one way or the other, I was just talking about how not as much magic in Magic the Gathering. Again, that's just going to be kind of a through line, I think, in this video. And I think some of that is because a lot of modern Magic is a bit esoteric, you know? It's like telling somebody to start watching a show that's like 6 seasons in or 12 seasons in. And, you know, you got to do a lot of catching up. Nobody wants to do that, right? So sometimes, even though I really like sets like, you know, All-Be-One, March of the Machine, these be like Vorthos sets, but from a new player's perspective, or even from a guy that's been playing for 30 years, from my perspective even, there are times where, but let's go back and really frame this mostly from a newer player's perspective. Let's do that. There are times where, you know, you open a pack and you're like, well, who are all these people? Well, what's going on here? You know, what's a Phyrexian? I don't think that, but it's like, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, okay, so who's this weirdo and why is he shaped like a pizza? I know that no one's shaped like a pizza. But that is the world of Magic the Gathering, right? It's like, who is this lady and why is she doing the thing? You know, that's the kind of strength of things like Wilds of Eldraine, right? It's a fairy tale plane. You know, you can open up as a brand new player. Brittany and I, my wife, we opened up some Wilds of Eldraine. I always want to call them fat packs. It's whatever these things are called nowadays. I've a bundle or something, I forget. But we opened up a couple of these, and she was like, "Oh, it's a gingerbread man," and stuff like that. And you know, "Oh, it's the evil queen," and she was like really, really into it. And that's, you know, she doesn't play Magic. She's played like 5 games of Cube with me because I really, really wanted her to, and she enjoyed herself. But she still has not played that much Magic in her life. She's not into this stuff. So, but even she was able to open a product like that and be like, oh, I know what this is. I know what that is. I know what this is. I know what that is. And kind of, you know, relate and connect to it. And I think that's important with products like Wilds. But even products like Wilds get a little bit esoteric at times when it comes to certain factors of the storyline and returning characters and all these planeswalkers and stuff. So, and even when, you know, you dig into the story or you look at the cards in Eldraine and it's referencing this giant worldwide event that just happened, you know, and the omen paths are open and you're a new player and you're like, what is going on, right? So I think the core sets do help alleviate some of that, because as much as I like story elements, as much as I like plot line in Magic, as much as I think it needs to be its own individual thing, and it can flourish in that way, right? As much as I like legendary creatures and blah, 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 blah. I think there's also something to be said for the fact that Magic the Gathering is a game about magic. Red Magic does fire stuff. Black Magic does black magic stuff, death stuff, right? And, you know, like, white magic is healing, and it's just like there are monsters, you know, there are dragons and there are angels and there are vampires and there are elves. It's magic, it's fantasy, you know. And I think that's like sometimes a set like core sets, for instance, that can take advantage of sort of the generic, for lack of a better word, you know, nature of a game like Magic the Gathering and explore sort of the roots of what the game actually is supposed to be. You know, that was sort of one of the things that drew people to the game in alpha. It's like, oh, I'm a red mage, I can cast lightning bolt and fireball. That just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, that just makes sense. Like, I'm a black mage, I can cast Cinder Vampire. That makes sense, you know? And I think that that sort of intuitive nature has been lost in all of the Vorthosy nonsense over the last couple of years. And as much as I like the idea of some of the sets that are coming out this year, like, oh, we got the Murder Mystery set and the Western set. Those are cool ideas. Let's explore those. We haven't done that before. That's neat. And we got Bloomburrow and its tiny animals, and people are going to love that. It's going to be great. We got the Haunted House of Horrors set where the entire plane is a haunted house. That sounds awesome, you know, but all of that is still slightly esoteric in terms of what I'm talking about here, which is getting back to once a year in a core set, just putting a bunch of cards together that a brand new player can look at and be like, oh, it's magic. It's like you're casting spells and it's magic, right? So like, there's just something about the very simple nature of a core set that speaks to me on, again, a very generic level, which I think is something Magic can play to as a strength. All right, so I'm done with that entry, and I'm still not sure any of it actually made any sense to anyone. Are you still watching? Wow, thanks. Anyway, my next one. What are we on, like number 3? What are we, 40 minutes into the video? Let's just say actual standard support. Look, I know, they did this whole thing where they're like, we are going to recommit ourselves to standard. I don't know why I went from sleepy voice to like announcer guy voice. We are going to commit ourselves to standard. That was kind of weird, but still, they had this whole article about it, and they extended the rotation, which not many people actually liked. most entrenched standard players really hated that. But they're trying specifically to get people who aren't entrenched in standard, and I guess they feel like one of the biggest complaints from those people is that rotation happens too fast. So once every 3 years. That's ridiculous. I don't think it was the best move. But you know what I haven't really seen in the midst of all of this standard support, we're going to recommit ourselves, blah, blah, is like tournaments. Anything real. And I think that part of their announcement is that they're going to have a few tournaments or whatever. But like, I want two things. I want Pro Magic back. I think it does make a difference, but even aside from Pro Magic, this is still part of the same entry, by the way. Even aside from Pro Magic, I want just tournaments. Look, if you go to like MTG Melee right now, which is like a tournament aggregate sort of site with deck list database, whatever, and you click on deck list database, format, standard, you'll basically get no results. Like one of the best ways to get tournament results right now is to go Google MTGO deck lists, and you will get like results from MTGO challenges and league results and stuff. And that is just not the best data in the world. You know, you can go to EtherHub right now and see what's popping, you know, meta wise on MTG Arena. You can go to MTG Goldfish, and they have a meta hub there too, right? But a lot of these aggregate sites are now just pulling from MTGO challenges, and that's about all they have to pull from. So it's just, you know, there's issues with all of that. I want actual Wizards supported, not all, they don't all have to be independent, although I would like more independent support as well. But I want Wizards supported standard tournaments, and I want them all of the time. You know, I want the big events to be standard events. If that's what you say you want to do, is recommit yourself to standard, because, you know, it's the premier way that people get into your product. Magic Arena is supposed to be the gateway to get people into standard, but nobody wants to play paper standard. How come? There's a lot of reasons for it. So many reasons for it. But one of those reasons is, and always has been, incentive. You know, I don't think there's really, I mean, I know correlation isn't necessarily causation, but you know, we got rid of, just completely jettisoned any form of professional standard Magic, and suddenly nobody cares about standard anymore. I know a lot of other things happen in that window of time, but those are definitely two things that happen together, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting other parts of that data set or whatever. But again, I just don't think it's like a huge coincidence that those two things happened almost exactly congruently. But still, another thing, here's the second point that I'd like in terms of supporting standard, is like a real F&M initiative, you know, give shops real incentive to fire F&Ms, whether it's free product or free product or free product. Giving stuff away really gets people in the door 9 times out of 10. There's a reason that like a lot of people still go to pre-release, like a ton of people still go to pre-release. Nobody goes to F&M. No, I mean, I know that some of you in the comments are going to be like, I fire F&M every week, but most people that did fire F&M 3 years ago no longer do that. And it's not all because of societal and world health factors from the last 3 years. It's also because standard is A, way too expensive, and B, a little bit stale and not super fun. So, you know, first you got to fix that. You know, you got to have the tires if the car's going to go, right? But there's a bunch of fine tuning you can do within that engine to make the car run way, way better. And I think that like an actual massive, large scale F&M initiative to get people back in the door, whether that means, I was going to say free stuff a bunch of times again, but just whatever you can do, whatever you can give shops to incentivize getting people in the door on a Friday night, I want you to do. So don't just give us lip service and say that you want standard to be great again or whatever. You actually have to put the money out there. Now, my number 2 is way down here at number 2, mostly because I think some people are going to hate it. I think that some people are going to hate this idea. I'm actually kind of nervous about putting it out there, but it's also something I'm like kind of confused why Wizards hasn't done this, and I was going to say I'm confused they haven't thought of it, but they probably have. There's probably some project in the works like right now that's a version of this anyway, but I just want to say a paper cube product of some kind. A paper cube product. That would, you know, Can we do that? Can we do a paper cube product? I think that'd be kind of good. Yeah, direct to consumer. This is the thing I was talking about earlier where I'm like, hey, don't do as many secret layers, but I got another idea for you later. Here, we are at this point in the video. I think that as long as, and this is very important, are you ready for this? Because I want you to lean in. If there actually is like someone that matters watching this, just listen, you have to listen very hard to this. It can't be too expensive. Do you understand me? It can't be outrageous. It cannot be $300. You can't do that. You cannot do it. Okay. Do we understand each other? All right. So you do a paper cube product. It also cannot be $200. It also cannot be, well, maybe it could be $100. It depends on what's in it. But either, we'll talk about it. But one way or the other, don't call me. Maybe once a year, kind of as like a super secret layer. Don't give them any ideas. Don't do that. Because if you do, it's a super secret layer. It will be like $500. And you really, I'm telling you, you cannot do it. You can't do that. We will hate it. Everyone will hate it. Do you remember Magic 30? Everyone will hate it. So, just because you're throwing in a bunch of like hypnotic specters and dark rituals and channels and stuff into a box, don't think we're going to pay $300 for it. And it's not going to work for Magic 30. It's not going to work for the cube either. So I just want to be very clear that I don't want Wizards to be super weaselly with this one, but I do still kind of want it. I put the mic down, but still, I do still kind of want this very much. I think that a lot of people might be into the idea of just direct order from Wizards website, a 180 card. That's a 4-person cube, right? You could do a 360 card cube, but again, let's try and keep the price down on this thing. I know it costs a good bit to ship that much, but you ship boxes, you ship draft boxes all the time. It shouldn't be that much to ship a cube. Either way, all I'm saying is think about it. But remember to keep the consumer in mind on this one. I think you could put a team on, figuring out some good cards to throw into a cube that's a decent size, people can have fun with, and draft more than once, showcases all of Magic history. You could kind of do some of the things you were trying to do with Magic 30, but again, keep it a decent price point, and it's actually a halfway good draft experience too. All of those things can be true. So I'm just saying, I've gotten really, really into cube at this point, and I like when they do, MTGO cubes, and sometimes they even do them on Magic Arena, and they're really, really fun to draft. So I'm sure this is already in the works because they can make a lot of money on it. So, all I'm basically saying is don't necessarily, it's not that they have to do a paper cube. Listen very carefully, Wizards of the Coast. It's not that I want you to do a paper cube so much and I'll pay anything for it. That's not what I said. None of us are saying that. It's that I want a paper cube, but the important part of this entry is that I want it to be reasonable. And yes, I know that I can build my own cube, and half the fun of building a cube is building a cube, right? Like that's cubing is fun. It's like building a deck, but you get to put like 300 plus cards in it. It's like the ultimate form of building a commander deck. And like I get all those things, all the comments I'm going to get, and I even feel them to some extent, but I also think it might be neat to have like an official cube for Magic the Gathering. And again, they could do this idea more than once. They could do it like once a year and I'd be okay with that. But I have talked way too long in this entry. Basically, Paper Magic Cube, direct to consumer. Why aren't you doing that? It'll make you all the money. Please don't be mad at me, by the way. And not, I'm talking to you, actual person watching this video now. Don't be mad at me for giving this idea. Again, I think they probably already have this in the works if they're smart. And we know when it comes to making money, they've thought of everything already. So I don't think that I'm giving them any ideas here. My main point is do it right. You better do it right when you do it. But I guess the last thing I want this year is a little bit honorable mention-y as well. I really started with some heavy hitters and then worked my way down the list in this one. But one way or the other, I just want the return of starter decks. You guys remember starter decks? I know this is a dinky one, but still, I think that you could do starter decks and I would buy them every now and again. You know what I mean? Like, we have booster packs, we have pre-cons, we have bundles and stuff like that, but I'm really missing just being able to buy like 60 random cards with lands and a rule book or whatever. You don't even have to put the rule book in there. I wish you would, but still. And if you did, I wanted to be the old one. I want to be the one from like 1993, just a repro of that. How many memories would that bring back? And how cool would it be for newer players too? To be, oh, this is like the original official Magic. Okay, that's cool. So, I think everybody would be kind of into that. But either way, just being able to open two completely like random decks and play them against each other was always like a really fun experience. And even if you're completely by yourself, those times you're at the card shop and you have 10 $10 rather than $4. It was always fun to pick up a starter deck and just see what you get. It was a value in some ways because you'd get 3 rares. And I don't know why you stopped printing them. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of market analysis that went into your decision to not do them anymore. But all I'm saying is maybe in 2023 or 24, good Lord, maybe in 2024 we give it a shot again. Maybe throw a few out there and see how they sell, because I'll buy a couple, and I don't even buy stuff anymore. I spend like $5 on TCG Player at a time, like once a month. And that is all the Magic shopping I really do in this day and age. I pick up a couple things for Commanders, keep it budget, But honestly, if I saw like a randomized starter deck just sitting there, I would pick up 2 of them and probably attempt to force Brittany to play Magic with me again. We'll see how that goes. But either way, I just don't know wwhy we lost starter decks. They were a fun part of Magic, and we should bring them back. But the final thing that I want in 2024, the Gathering. Oh, yeah, I know, again, cliched point, but it's kind of the point of the entire video and what I've been saying with a lot of these, if we could just like bang 2 random decks against each other again, like we used to back in the old days, that'd be fun. Remember, you could do that with your friends. Hey, if you could have a paper cube official from Wizards to draft up with your friends, that'd be cool. Generate some buzz. People want to come over to the house, order a pizza, drink something, whatever, and have some fun. Yeah, that'd be nice. Hey, if there were actual standard again and we could fire some F&Ms, we could get people together. That'd be great. Hey, if there were core sets, maybe there'd be more new players who just understand the sort of generic concept of Magic and then jump into the game at large, and we'd have more people playing, and that's just community. I want more community in Magic the Gathering. It just feels like something that's been lost for a while, and I know that people still go to Magic Cons and Cube Cons and F&Ms in some cases, and big large-scale tournaments for Modern and stuff like that, and pre-Modern even, which is really taking off right now. There's still a lot of community left in our community, but there was once way more, and I just want to get back to those days more than I want Magic itself to improve as a game. I mean, I want Wizards of the Coast to improve as a company. I want Hasbro to improve as a company. I want them to make better decisions that we like more and not just the shareholders. There's a lot of things that I want to change for Magic itself as a game, as a product, whatever. But honestly, the thing I want to change most is just how we play Magic, right? So I could really prattle on about that for a long time, but I think I've prattled on enough at this point. I just kind of want to see you guys again. That's really what it comes down to. I've asked countless questions on Twitter in the form of polls that all kind of boil down to, hey, do you see each other anymore? Not long ago, I asked, when's the last time you traded Magic cards in person with another human being for other Magic cards? And the most popular option on the poll was over a year ago. That's so sad. You guys remember when we used to trade Magic cards? You bring your binder and trade Magic cards with people? Jeez Louise. We can't even do that anymore. Let's get back together this year is all I'm saying. I love you guys and I want to see more of you. But in any case, just let me know what you want for this year down there in the comments section, because I'm pretty sure you can do better than me. Starter decks? Come on. But paper cube. I had some good ones in there. I had some good ones. I think we can talk about fewer spoilers. I think we can talk about core sets, right? So I'm sure this one will generate an interesting dialogue, but just let me know how you feel about it down there in the comments and what you want from this year in Magic. And like I said earlier, our next one is going to be my predictions for 2024, which sadly will be a very different, far less optimistic video than this. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see that one. And if you're already subscribed, gee, thanks a lot. Also, Timothy Prey, patron of the day, thank you a lot as well, and all our other patrons. And if you consider becoming one, I want to thank you for that too. It's pretty amazing. I just really require like $1 a month, and you can vote on what content we do around here. I feel like I'm worth $1 a month. I work somewhat hard. Am I the hardest working man in Magic? Probably not. There's Power Dragon. You check that guy out. That dude works. Put video out every single day, sometimes twice a day. DMs me like, hey, you want to get some content in while I'm getting some content in? I'm like, geez, dude, you got to stop, sleep. But still, I do work fairly hard. So maybe $1 a month. If you can't afford it, that's totally fine. I'm just glad that you're here watching the video and you made it this far. That's kind of incredible. Nobody does that. So just thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. I would probably be doing this no matter what. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to stop making YouTube videos. I'm going to be like 75, like, oh, what I like about Magic in 2073 is it's probably going to be that way. And it's actually not going to be sad. It's going to be kind of fun, actually. But either way, I'm going to do this regardless of whether or not I have the ability. But I just really appreciate all of you giving me the ability to do it. But either way, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate you. It's going to be a good year. I know the last couple have been awful. This is the one. I can feel it. This is the year. Either way. That's about all, Ski Kowalski. So I will catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.